Hi, Gemini. Here's your horoscope for the overview of 2024, brought to you by planetswithin.com. I'm astrologer Joseph Anthony. All right, as you're aware, 2024 is going to be a monumental year. And I say this because the outer planets are going to make some significant changes. And it has a lot to do with Pluto, number one. And then we have Jupiter going into your sign in May. So you could expect a lot more socializing in 2024, a lot more creative projects coming your way, breaking free from restrictions or wanting to just go in new directions, traveling, learning, teaching. These are the things that I see are going to be very important for many of you. And this is for anyone who has a Gemini rising or is a Gemini sun. Again, this is a very general overview. And so the outer planets is where we look every year. Professional astrologers look at the outer planets and see how they're aspecting the chart, the sun chart for that sign. And we see that there's going to be some major changes having to do with just looking at the world in a different way for many of you. Up to this point, Jupiter has been sitting in your 12th house. So it's been limiting you, or you're feeling a little stuck, or you're doing a lot of work from behind the scenes, while Saturn has been in Pisces in your career sector, putting a little bit more pressure on you to change or go in a new direction. Or maybe there's a lot of uncertainty that's been in the mix. And Uranus, of course, has also been in Taurus. That's been like a double whammy in that 12th house. And I'll get over to a chart in a second, but there has been a lot of pressure from the stars to change in some way. But Pluto is going to be the main star of this year, and it's going to go into Aquarius, which is going to be your 9th house. And so I'll cover all of that. So let's take a look and dive a little deeper and see what we've got here. Jupiter has been in Taurus for quite a while, since 2023, and it'll stay there until May 25. And Jupiter in Taurus can be a little slower and sluggish and, not wanting to move forward and not being as determined, especially in the 12th house. So you're feeling like you're not as motivated, or your drive has been kind of slowed down in some ways. But it's had a lot to do with beliefs, determination, being fixated and stubborn and sensual and materialistic in some way this past year. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just, this is the theme of the Jupiter in Taurus. But on the 25th, Jupiter enters your sign. It enters your first house. And so everything associated with Gemini, as you see here, all these words associated with your sign are going to be very important in the coming year. And this is what's going to basically overload many of you with all kinds of ideas and need to communicate and express yourself and, going to 29 different things all at once. This is what Jupiter and Gemini loves to do. It loves to juggle, not just one or two, but 10 or 12, because they feel like they need that mental stimulation to keep them going. So Jupiter and Gemini is going to help out a lot in May with all kinds of activities, including getting attention from others. Saturn has been a major player here in Pisces. This has been our spiritual life. Saturn is about restriction. Saturn's about karma, but Pisces is about being helpful, being determined, and not being determined. Getting what you want using your imagination. So the combination of two can be very determined. So this will continue to go through your 10th house of career. So if you're in the medical arts field, or the medical field, or counseling field, or healing arts of some kind, this has been very beneficial for many of you, and that'll continue in 2024. Uranus, on the other hand, will continue to make its way through your 12th house, basically revolutionizing how you view yourself spiritually, how your subconscious works, anything to do with mysticism, your dreams, your limitations. These are all things that are being transformed with Uranus going through your 12th house. And of course, this is the big news here. Pluto re-entering your 9th house. And this is going to be on January 21st. And Pluto in Aquarius has a lot to do with the rebellious energy. In other words, it does not want to do things the same way. And fortunately, your sign is one of those signs that does not like doing things in a traditional way. So you'll find this very comforting to have Pluto in Aquarius in your ninth house. And so you'll be thinking outside the box, having all kinds of premonitions, visionary abilities, wanting to know more in terms of philosophy, meaning of life, all of that. Maybe even turning to religion as something that you might find very interesting or intriguing. And that's what Pluto is going to continue to do in that ninth house. But as it makes aspects to other planets and bodies, the energy gets activated. So that's how it works in astrology. So let's take a look at an overview for the Gemini chart. And again, this is for anyone with a Gemini rising or a Gemini sun sign. There you go. And so as you notice, most of the planets are above the horizon as we get started at the beginning of the year. Your ruler your ruler Mercury is coming out of retrograde right there. It's in stationary position as we start off the year. And so that's going to be helpful. Mars is in Sagittarius. Venus is in Sagittarius. So it should be a very social month or a year as we begin. People from the past, situations in the past probably resurface, which is totally normal. You're focusing on business or financial matters as the sun makes its way through Capricorn in your 8th house. There's Pluto at the last degree of Capricorn, getting ready to go into the 9th house. There's Saturn in the 10th house of career, also along with Neptune in Pisces. They're both in Pisces here in the career sector. So many of you have been trying to focus on what you want, where you're going, and there's been a lot of confusion along the way. I'm not going to lie to you. And so what you're striving for this year is a way to connect with others, a way to make new friends. You might be associated with new organizations because one eclipse is going to light up this 11th house. You're going to have 2 eclipses that light up the 5th house of love and creativity, children, speculation, fun. This is going to be very important. So these access points are going to be highlighted. And then we have another eclipse that's going to highlight the 10th house of career towards the end of 2024, which is really about, are you in the right line of work? Are you happy with what you're doing? And so that's going to bring a lot of questions to the table for many of you. So this is what it looks like as we begin the year. But as we go through January, now January is going to be a very big month, starting at the beginning of the year, but it'll pick up momentum, especially around that 21st date, January 21st, when Pluto enters Aquarius and it conjuncts the sun in the 9th house. You may have an epiphany. You may have a realization. You may need to drive. You may need to travel. You may need to teach. You may need to just learn something new. Something may shock you in some way. With sort of the information that comes to you or the situation that you find yourself in, and that's all possible. It's a very powerful time when the sun conjuncts Pluto like that, and it enters the 9th house as it's doing. So this could be very important time for many of you. And so we also have Uranus right there that's been dormant in retrograde, now getting ready to go direct. There it is in stationary position. So it's going to make its way closer and closer to your part of your chart here and into Gemini, which it won't happen until 2025. So we've got quite a ways to go before Uranus hits the 1st house. But it'll still be active, and there's a major alignment between Jupiter and Uranus in this 12th house. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And so these are going to be significant alignments that are going to occur. And so we need to keep an eye on them. As a matter of fact, here are some of the major transits that you need to jot down or keep an eye out or take a screenshot on. And I'll go over them with you quickly here. Here's the first one, Pluto entering Aquarius. Then it conjuncts the sun. Now here's another big one. April 20th, Jupiter conjuncts Uranus in Taurus. That's your 12th house. So there could be some surprises with finances or investments, or maybe somebody leaves you money, or there's a big expenditure that comes your way. There could be something to do with that there. Now, as we come into May, May is a much better month for many of you guys. Jupiter will sextile Neptune, which is another one, another favorable alignment for the career and also spiritual matters. But on the 25th, Jupiter enters Gemini, and this is where everything starts to really unfold or change for many of you. And right away on June the 2nd, it trines Pluto. which means it's making a 120-degree alignment to Pluto in that 9th house. So you may find yourself with a new opportunity for work or an opportunity to reinvent yourself in some way around this time in June, the end of May, June. Okay, so this is a very favorable alignment, Jupiter trine Pluto. But as we get through the summer months, it starts getting a little tricky. Middle of July and then into August, where we have this Jupiter in your sign squaring Saturn in Pisces in the career sector. So this is where, you may start questioning, are you in the right line of work? What else do I want? I'm not sure. There's so much pressure, and maybe you're being overwhelmed with opportunities and you can't make a decision. That is a possibility as well. But Jupiter square Saturn is usually a significant aspect where pressure is being put on to make a change or to go in a new direction. And this is all in August. August is a very tricky month. Matter of fact, the second half of 2024 can be tricky, as I've pointed out in my 2024 video. September, we have Pluto retrograding back into your 8th house. And it's not really retrograding completely into Capricorn. It's going to stay at 29 degrees the whole time of its retrograde, which means it's on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius, meaning that it's taking on the energy of both. So it's sort of this, should I go? Should I not go? Let's revisit the past. Yes, but we have to move into the future. And that's the kind of energy that'll be floating around in September. Now, as we go into September, we also have the eclipse, like I talked about, and I'll get into that in the eclipses in a minute. But we have a lunar eclipse in September on the 17th, which will really have you questioning your job and where you're going. Now, November, the energy starts to, again, build up with Pluto entering Aquarius again. So obviously the Pluto's come out of retrograde and it starts moving into Aquarius. But as we enter the last month of the year, and yes, I know the spelling is off here, December the 6th, Mars goes retrograde in Leo. This has a lot to do with your thinking and communication and your creativity. And then, of course, right towards the end of the year, we have another Jupiter square Saturn in your sign. Jupiter will be in Gemini and will square Saturn once again. So you could see it's a trickier second half of the year with career and making decisions. And so, and I think it may have something to do with outside stimulus, like economic stuff or political nonsense or, the markets changing in some way or financial currency changing. And it may affect all of us for that matter, So we'll have to see how it unfolds. But again, this is very general, and you should jot down these dates to keep an eye on. Here are the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipses for the year, and they're always very significant because they open up doorways. Like for instance, solar eclipses are doorways that open, while lunar eclipses are doorways that close. And so March the 21st, lunar eclipse in Libra, the sign of relationships. So this is going to activate the energy in your 5th house of love and creativity and children and speculation and having fun. So what does that mean? It means there's going to be significant changes in your relationships in some way. You might have people moving away. You may have people passing on. You may have people leaving for school. You may have people that just don't want to be in your life anymore, or you don't want to be in theirs anymore. And that's the kind of energy that this lunar eclipse can bring up. Now, on the other hand, the April 8th eclipse is a very powerful solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, which is going to open up doorways for you in that 11th house, which has to do with the future and hopes and wishes and meeting new people and new opportunities. So don't despair with losing friends, because there's a good chance that you'll be finding some new ones with this total solar eclipse. Then towards the end of the year, here's that September 17th lunar eclipse in Pisces, which is in the career sector, which again is coming to some sort of realization that something may have to end, or, I have to change my career, or something's not working for me anymore. I have to move on, or I have to sell my business, or whatever it is. That's the kind of theme that I'm seeing here. And then again, the last eclipse will be on October 2nd. This one is a solar eclipse. Again, new opportunity in the sign of Libra, the sign of partnerships and relationships and marriage, in that 5th house. So many of you may be meeting some new people around that time that could be very significant in your life. So I'll just go over the charts real quickly with you to show you the 25th. Here is the lunar eclipse. This is going to be at, looks like 10 degrees. No, it's 5 degrees, 5 degrees across the sun right there. The only aspect really is to Pluto. So this has a lot to do with relationships, organizations, friendships, acquaintances. Maybe he's doing something in marketing, but notice all the planets in the career sector. So it could have something to do with a job, or maybe you have people at work that are leaving, or you have employees that don't want to be there anymore and they're retiring. Whatever the case may be. But you may find yourself extraordinarily busy at this time too, overwhelmed, and you can't handle it. And there's a lot of stress, and you'll have to say, I can't handle all this. So there is that possibility as well too. So keep an eye on this one. This is a huge eclipse as well. But this one's an even bigger one. On the 8th, this one has to do with Aries right there. It's going to be at 19 degrees of Aries. So wherever that is in your actual birth chart, that's going to light up that area. And so this is the 11th house. And so this is about the future. This is about direction. This is about hopes and wishes and dreams. This is about taking charge of your life, because that's what Aries represents. It's a pioneering spirit where it wants to make new ground. It wants to go new directions. It wants to try new things. And you will be propelled and pushed in that direction because of Aries and because of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius as well in that 9th house. So you're going to be thinking a lot outside the box this year. It's no more, I'm going to be passive and let everything go by. No. This time of the year, it's going to be a very strong push for many of you to go in a new direction. The lunar eclipse on the 17th highlights Pisces. Now, this one is going to be at 25 degrees of Pisces, but it's going to be conjunct Neptune right there. So this is going to be a very weak, very emotional, very sad, perhaps, very sensitive full moon because of Neptune being so close. And it'll be opposing Virgo sun down here. So this to me looks like a possibility of a move or change to a family dynamic in some way, like somebody moving out or someone crossing over, or, some sort of health matters, perhaps, having to do with work. It'll be squaring Jupiter. This is why I'm saying this. And I'm not trying to be negative here, but 25 degrees, 20 degrees, this is going to directly affect you in some way, having to do with your career, your home life, and how you're seen in this whole dynamic here. And so this could be a bit of a tricky time for many of you around this time frame. And then the last eclipse on October the 2nd highlights the 5th house of love and fun and creativity. And so I believe it's at 10 degrees. So this is going to be a new doorway that opens up and says, okay, all right, time to start new, time to start a fresh new start and bring in some new people into my life and start some new creative projects and go in a new direction, you see? And so this is what this is going to signify here. And so I see a lot of opportunities for change this year for many of you in terms of your identity, yourself, your career, even relationships, especially relationships, because we have 2 eclipses in Libra, the sign of relationships. So here are the retrogrades. Now, this is always important because Mercury is the ruler of your chart. So the first one is not as important because it's coming out of retrograde on the very first day of the year. So this will start building up momentum and you'll start feeling more motivated. The second one, very important. This one's going to be in Aries. And so you may be questioning a direction, questioning a relationship, questioning someone's motives. You may be questioning what you're doing because we have a lot of energy sandwiched in between those 2 eclipses, between March the 25th and April the 8th. And here goes retrograde Mercury in the mix. So it could be tricky. August, there's another retrograde in Virgo. Again, this time, this has a lot to do with nervous energy and decision-making and maybe being a little uncertain about where you're living, and maybe you want to change the home life, or maybe there's some sort of dynamic taking place within the home life. This, again, may have you going back into the past to revisit something having to do with those areas. And then the last one, November 25th, Mercury turns retrograde in Sagittarius, which is your partnership sector. So again, they're revisiting people from the past, situations from the past, ideas from the past, groups from the past. All of that stuff can be associated with this last retrograde. Now, these are the dates that I want you guys to watch. In the red is probably the most important. So that's why I highlighted them in red. So here it is, January 21st. Sun conjunct Pluto in that 9th house. That's a wild card of change that could affect you guys. We also have Mars conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. That's again in that 9th house on February 14th. Except this time with Mars, it can be very explosive energy. March the 9th, we have Mars squaring Uranus. Once again, very volatile time, having to do with I believe it's the 8th house. No, Mars will be squaring Uranus. It's just a very tricky time. Anytime Mars and Uranus are involved, because there's a lot of energy there. There are the eclipses. There's the retrograde. But here is the eclipses. We still have to pay attention to those because the energy is very explosive at this time. There's the April 20th Jupiter conjunction in the 12th house. And then on May the 13th, we have a Sun conjunct Uranus in the 12th house. So once again, having to do with money matters and values and beliefs and the material side of life gets highlighted here. We continue into May. Like I said, May the 25th should be pretty good. And then a very favorable alignment on the 2nd. But as we get into the second half, as I said, Mars conjunct Uranus in Taurus. It begins on July the 15th. This is where it gets a little tricky. That's why these are all in red. There's that second square, the first square. Jupiter retrogrades or conjuncts Capricorn. There's the other eclipse that we need to pay attention to. And here are the rest of the activity for the rest of the year. So these are, you take screenshots of these, jot them down, and just keep an eye on them because they're going to be very significant throughout the year. Of course, I'll keep you informed with my videos throughout the year. So anyway, do the best you can. Always meditate on this. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. I will do the best I can and everything will work itself out. And always remind yourself of this, no matter what. When you're happy, when you're sad, when you're not sure, always remind yourself of this. This is how you get back to center within your heart and soul. Okay, because the soul knows. The brain is just a processor that wants to overanalyze things. And so the more you get into your heart center and realize who you are, and tell your brain that that's who you are, the more you become more at peace within yourself. And that's the key. All right. Anyway, if you like this video, please subscribe, like, and share. Follow me on social media platforms. And have a fantastic year. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.